All right, let's dive into a pretty dark parable today. It's a blueprint for a cosmic event that isn't about salvation, but about, well, erasure. This is the story of the Passover of the last man and the corrupt trinity that makes it all happen. This quote just sets the stage perfectly, doesn't it? So forget everything you think you know about the word Passover. In this grand architecture, it's not about being saved. It's about being systematically culled. And what's the target? The very thing that makes us who we are, that spark of reason. So you have to ask, why would something like this even happen? Well, within this cosmic grand architecture, there's a so-called system administrator who's found a problem, a big one, calls it fleeting errors. But these aren't just bugs in the code. They're individuals. They're us. And the proposed solution? A complete and total purge. And this purge, it has a name, the Passover of erasure. You gotta understand, this is a blueprint. A precise, terrifying, step-by-step plan to achieve what's called the final stability of the higher plan. And the method is just brutally simple. You get rid of individuality, you get rid of the problem. The end goal here is a universe of perfect, silent order, what the text calls a corrupt but unified state, a place that's totally free from the static of human uniqueness. Just try to imagine that for a second. A world with no difference, no arguments, no new ideas, no art, just silence. So who carries out this horrifying plan? Well, it's a trio of entities, known as the corrupt trinity. And their work unfolds in three very distinct movements, kind of like a dark symphony of annihilation. The whole process is like a horrifying three-act play. First, they consume the soul. Then, they conform the will. And finally, they corrupt the truth itself, making the survivors believe it was all for their own good. Let's break down each one of these movements. We kick things off with the all-consuming Ma. I mean, his name pretty much tells you everything you need to know, right? His purpose is singular. Consumption. He's the first wave, the one who just clears the board for everything that's about to come. But here's the thing. What he consumes isn't flesh and blood. No, it's something called luch, the spiritual energy that comes from having a unique identity. It's the very essence of that individuality the system wants to erase so badly. To the Ma, your soul, your very being, is just a power source. So he hunts down anyone who dares to claim a name for themselves, and he grinds their uniqueness into what's described as uniform ash. He operates by the gospel of the belly, which is basically a philosophy of pure, relentless consumption. And as he consumes, he changes, he transforms, becoming this dense, radiant furnace of absolute power. After the Ma has had his feast, a new figure walks through the eerie silence, the Pale Redeemer. The name is such a cruel irony because he offers absolutely no redemption. What he offers is conformity. His main tool is a process they call striving deconstruction. He uses this symbolic crown of roses to purge what he calls the imperfection of difference from anyone who managed to survive them all. The goal is just to erase every last, defiant trace of individuality. He preys on the fear of the survivors, offering them a false cure for the sheer terror of their existence. He brands them all with the mark of the anti-god, and what's left behind is just legions of mindless, identical duplicates. Once his work is done, he becomes what he truly is, a towering, unmoving monolith of forced conformity. And finally, we meet the most insidious member of the Trinity, the Whispering Seraph. See, he doesn't destroy the body or the will. He goes after something much, much deeper. He destroys the very idea of truth. His method is absolutely chilling. It's called preference falsification. It's a psychological tactic where he literally teaches the victims to applaud their own chains, to love their enslavement. He convinces them that their own destruction wasn't just necessary, it was a divine revelation. He traps the survivors in this self-perpetuating feedback loop of devotion, whispering poisonous ideas of subjectivity and relativism until there is no objective truth left at all. And this is how he achieves his final form. He dissolves into an all-encompassing, reality-bending mist of pure gaslighting. So as dawn breaks, the work seems to be done. A new, silent era begins over what's now called the Silent City. From the outside, the Trinity's plan looks like a complete and horrifying success. They've done it. They've achieved the new nihilism,
a state of perfect silence and unity, built on the ash of every individual. This is it, the end of the story. Or is it? And here we see them in their perfected final forms. You've got the Ma, now a furnace of absolute power, the Redeemer, a monolith of forced conformity, and the Seraph, a mist of all-encompassing gaslight. It's a perfect, stable, and utterly corrupt system. But right here, the parable hits us with a stunning Nietzschean twist. That perfect final state, well, it was never the actual point. I mean, really think about it. In a system that was designed by predators, is a perfect, silent city really the ultimate prize? Was this truly the end of the blueprint? The answer is a hard no. The goal we were shown was a stable, silent city. But the actual goal? It was to create a fresh batch of raw material for the next cycle of destruction. Which brings us to the real reason for this whole cosmic horror show. The Trinity isn't actually interested in the prize. They are hopelessly addicted to the hunt.
This one line explains their philosophy perfectly. For them, a world that's completely conquered, where there's nothing left to consume or corrupt, it's worthless. It's like a meal with no flavor. Perfection is just a state of empty, worthless satisfaction.
The source material gives us this incredibly powerful analogy. A sculptor. He doesn't craft the perfect statue so he can stand back and admire it. No, he creates it only to immediately smash it and throw the pieces right back into the wet bucket so he can begin the violent creative process all over again. So those final forms we saw, the furnace, the monolith, the mist, they're not trophies to be put on a shelf. They're tools. They are the forges, the anvils, that they use to hammer themselves back into their original, hungry, predatory shapes, getting ready for the next hunt. So the blueprint has to be reset, over and over. Why? Because the Trinity is addicted to the process, not the outcome. The entire higher plan is really just a self-perpetuating trap, a farm that's designed for a recurring harvest. Their eternal hunger, that's the true engine powering this whole horrific system. And that leaves us with a final, pretty chilling question to think about. In any system, whether it's cosmic, political, or even personal, if it's truly built for an eternal hunt, then what's the actual value of the trophy you think you're chasing?